opened with the seven dwarfs, but anyway, we're going to be talking about the minimum wage in this country because the minimum wage in this country is a way that keeps people down. The minimum wage should be a lot higher than it is if it had kept up with inflation. In fact, if we had it up where it should be, and if we added the cost of living to it, then we wouldn't have to worry about it anymore. But Republicans in this country have consistently kept the minimum wage down, and Democrats have not fought hard enough for it. Minimum wage gives people an ability to be able to survive. But by keeping it down, you can, one, try to eliminate people who are not desirable, meaning non-whites, but you also keep down poor whites too. But these aren't things that people care about. As we're going through in this country where the rich want to be richer and the poor poor. They don't care about human beings. But just how much an hour should we be making if from the time the minimum wage was established and the minimum wage, if it kept up with the inflation over time until today? Now, the document I'm going to show you is from 2021. So we're 5 years off from what this document talks about. Let's take a look. Okay, we're going to look at this document here because we're talking about the minimum wage in this country, which is currently $7.25, and each state has a varying minimum wage. I mean, not all states. Some states just go with the federal. But this talks about how the minimum wage, if you look here, when it was first established, and how it kept up with inflation until maybe the late 1960s, and then it went down. If it had kept up with the way inflation had, we were making close to $26 an hour. That's what we were making. It's close to $26 an hour for the minimum wage. And everybody else who made more than minimum wage should be above that. So, and it says, furthermore, a minimum wage that grew in step with the rapid rise of productivity in these decades did not lead to mass unemployment. The year-round average for the unemployment rate in 1968 was 3.6, a lower average than any year in the last half century. Okay? So think about a country, what the country would look like with the lowest paying jobs at $26 an hour. $26 an hour. Okay? So the minimum wage in 2021 should have been about $26 an hour if it kept up. Wow. And we think that's a lot of money. But in actuality, that's the bare minimum that we should be making in this country at any job. And other people above that. This country can't afford it. Yes, it can. If CEOs aren't making 300, 400 times what their employees make, they can't afford it. Well, prices just go up. That's why I suggest you attach the cost of living to it. If the cost of living goes up, so does the minimum wage. In actuality, early on, according to the graph, it did that. Well, mass unemployment. No, the document talks about it wasn't mass unemployment. In fact, it got down to I forget the number, but it was in the 3 percentage points of unemployment. Things were doing well. Okay? So, don't believe the garbage they tell you. This is all about power and control. This is about keeping people down. Yes, it's about racism, but it's also just about generally keeping people down who they are not part of their upper circle, to keep the billionaires making as much money as possible, to keep people like Trump in power. That's what it's all about. If we start treating people fairly in this country, then things would change, perhaps. Not perfect, but it would change. And in fact, there are other places that do pay better wages. We're going to look at a clip from Michael Moore's movie because he talks about how people are treated better as employees and being almost as productive as this country. And then we'll talk some more.
Meet Johnny and Christina Fancelli, two working-class Italians.
We usually plan 1 week during the winter And then the first week of June,
Right.
because it's our anniversary.
Okay. Johnny is a cop, and Christina orders clothes for department stores.
And when you get married, you have 15 days more.
Yeah. 15, wait a minute.
15.
When you get married, you have 15 days paid holiday?
To go on honeymoon.
To go on honeymoon.
Yes.
They pay for your honeymoon.
Yes.
They pay for your honeymoon.
Yes. Because every year we usually have like 30, 35 days of, holidays.
Paid
that
holiday.
we are paid.
So wait, that's 5 days a week. That's 7 weeks.
In December, we have an additional salary in Italy. I think everybody.
What's additional mean?
We call 13th because 12 months, so we have the 13th salary in December. Plus, we have the national holidays.
How many are there of those?
Days, 12 days.
So that's another week or two.
Più c'è il santo patrono.
Each city has a saint patron.
Patron saint, yeah.
It's a city holiday.
And you're paid for this day.
Yes.
Yes.
3 weeks in August.
Okay.
Because in Italy, during the month of August is usually like a shutdown.
And are you paid for these weeks?
Yeah, sure.
8 weeks paid vacation. So you get 2 months' pay for 1 month of work.
Yes.
Why? Your regular pay is to pay the monthly bills. What money do you have left over to go on vacation? That's the way the Italians see it. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You get this 13th month, this imaginary month that you didn't work,
Yes.
and then you get
Another salary during the month of December.
like
That
what?
is paid, I
10%
think-
more?
No.
20?
No, a full salary.
You have 80 days in the bank.
Ma
in
non
the,
li posso.
in the holiday bank.
Sì, ma non li posso fare perché lei lavora. Io vorrei fare di più.
He would like to do more, of course.
Of course.
If you don't use all those days, the following year, you still have the vacation of the previous year.
Wait a minute.
So you don't lose that.
No, that's not true.
It's true.
No, that's not true. How do companies make any money if they pay all this to their employees?
Che come faccio le vacanze le devono fare loro.
Abbiamo bisogno anche di quelle vacanze, a scaricarsi dello stress e poi si rientra a lavorare più sereni, più tranquilli.
Do you mind paying your employees for all this time off?
No, assolutamente no.
No, è un
giusto.
piacere, è giustissimo.
no.
È giusto, è un loro diritto e per noi è un grosso piacere.
So do you get sick very often?
No. Mai.
No, perché d'estate se posso vado al mare. Allora io penso che il mare fa bene.
Lo stress
And-
è una malattia.
And stress causes a lot of sickness.
Yes, it's lunchtime at Lardini. But they're not getting in their cars to drive to the vending machine or the takeout window. They're going home like they do every day for a nice, relaxing 2-hour lunch. Italians have one of the highest life expectancies in the world. They live 4 years longer than the average American. All the fine benefits these workers have, vacation, wonderful lunch. How did this come about?
È stato aspre battaglie, i nostri avi sono stati perseguitati, sono stati incarcerati, hanno subito delle condanne, fino ad arrivare alle grandi esplosioni a normativa di legge.
We really feel that we are being rewarded by this because the people are very committed.
Right.
There is no clash between the profit of the company and the well-being of the people.
There is no clash between the profit of the company and the well-being of the people.
Yes.
He explained that by paying a good wage with good benefits, the company still made a healthy profit. Is this still a struggle?
Lo è sia in termini fiscali, lo è in termini di lotte, lo è in termini di negoziato, lo è sempre comunque così, mai è regalato.
All right, so we saw this clip from Michael Moore's Invade Next. And some people puts a lot of sarcasm in there, but he talks about a lot of truth. So these people in Italy, and it's not just Italy, but they get almost 8 weeks vacation. If you get married, you get a 3-week paid honeymoon, and they make a good salary. They get this time off, and they don't call in sick much because they're healthier. Okay. Several employers, they mentioned they don't mind giving their employees time off or sick, time off, vacation time, because it's fair. They get that, they should get it too. So it's a different way of thinking. It's a thinking of the idea that people are above each other, that we work together as a team, and that everybody benefits. But this country isn't built on that. This country is built on greed, power, racism, and conquest. It's built on the evils of capitalism. Now, there are some good things about capitalism, but when it's unhinged, it's just about power and greed. A capitalist society is no different than a communist-controlled economy. It's all for the powerful, and the weak are poor. But a capitalist society with different rules. Now, it also mentions that these people didn't get these things just because people felt generous. It's because people stood up and had to be, with their convictions. Many people were jailed and everything else. But then it became law. And now many people, it's still a struggle, but yet there's a lot more people who go along with it and think it's right. And they also mention that when you treat people better like this, you get more productive workers, happier workers, because they feel like they're respected. That's not their words, that's mine. Could it be done in this country? Well, it is done in some cases. I got another video clip with you. It'll be our final one.
This morning we have an update on the story of a CEO who made a stunning announcement on employee pay. This was more than 6 years ago when we first told you about it. 2015, Dan Price is his name. He raised the salary of everyone at his Seattle credit card processing company to at least $70,000 a year, at least. Price's decision was met with predictions of bankruptcy from his worst critics, but we're here to tell you now that has not happened. Instead, the company is actually thriving, and as Carter Evans shows us, the higher pay has helped employees buy homes and start families.
New parents and coworkers Carrie Chen and Alex Franklin can't wait to introduce their son to colleagues at work, a company they say made it possible for them to begin a family in the first place.
And you weren't the only ones that had a baby, huh?
No, everybody had a baby.
So it's a baby boom here. Why do you think that's happening?
We can afford it.
They both work at Gravity Payments in Seattle, a credit card processing company with a CEO who 6 years ago did something that shocked everyone.
And we're going to have a minimum $70,000 pay rate for everyone that works here.
You had people making $35,000 a year, but you told them you were going to double their salary.
Yeah.
And then you actually had to do it.
Right.
How did you pull it off?
Well, it's tricky. I took the $1 million pay cut.
That's right, $1 million pay cut. Dan Price was simultaneously hailed as a hero and eviscerated as an enemy of capitalism.
Lunatic of all lunatics, Dan Price.
Personally, I think he's a socialist.
I hope this company is a case study in MBA programs because it's going to fail.
But that didn't happen.
So you've almost doubled the number of employees,
Yeah.
and you've tripled business.
Yeah.
And you're still paying a minimum of $70,000 a year.
Correct.
How much do you make?
I make $70,000 a year.
To pay his own bills, Price downsized his own life, sold a second home he owned, and tapped into his own savings.
I think it was a big risk.
Yeah. Andrew Haffenbrack teaches at the University of Washington's Foster School of Business.
It does go against what people expect and what we usually see in terms of corporations and companies.
These days, average CEO compensation is 320 times more than the salaries of their typical workers.
This shows that isn't the only way for a company to be successful and profitable. Do you pay what you can get away with, or do you pay what you think is ideal or reasonable or fair?
Why aren't more companies doing this?
I would say that's the failure of this. I feel like I've been shouting from the rooftop, like, this works, everybody should do it. And 0 big companies are following suit because the system values having the highest return with the lowest risk and the lowest amount of work.
But Price thinks Gravity's returns are up in large part because bigger paychecks have led to fiercely loyal employees.
Our turnover rate was cut in half So when you have employees staying twice as long, their knowledge of how to help our customers skyrocketed over time. And that's really what paid for the raise more so than my pay cut.
Meeting them where they are.
The company did take a hit during the pandemic, losing 55% of its business in March 2020. At one point, Price figured Gravity was only 4 months away from failing, but it bounced back after its employees voluntarily took a temporary pay cut.
We reduced our salary to $40,000.
Yeah, I think we took each about somewhere around 60%.
Are you back up to normal now?
Not only back to normal, Gravity repaid us all of the pay cut that we had voluntarily given up.
Are we going to get a little playpen in here for you?
Price says baby Thomas is one of 60 new additions to the company family over the past 6 years. He also claims the number of employees buying homes has gone up tenfold.
We are right on track for the American dream. You know, we have a beautiful baby boy, a wonderful home, a beautiful life. We're not only just living, we're able to thrive.
And they're able to say thank you to the man who made it possible.
He has his dream car. We're like, hey, let's if we all chip in just a little bit, we can make it happen. And we did.
Oh my God! My employees have done way more for me than I could ever do for them. So the fact that they wanted to get me such an unreal, amazing gift, it's pretty special. I don't know if I can put it into words.
You could have afforded that with your old salary.
Yeah, that's true. I'm way happier now than I was before.
Oh, this feels good.
At Gravity Payments, it seems like there's a lot of that going around. For CBS Mornings, I'm Carter Evans in Seattle.
So here you have a man who was making $1 million a year. He had employees making $35,000 a year, all of them, but he made a decision to take a pay cut, drop his salary down to $70,000 a year, and make sure all his employees made a minimum of $70,000. And he said he's more happy. And his employees are so grateful. They knew he wanted this Tesla, which, if it was done right now, probably wouldn't be the most sought-after item with what's going on. But he wanted this Tesla, and his employees chipped together to buy him this car. Can you imagine your employees buying this car for you? It was his dream car. So his employees treated him right because they were treated right. And they were able to have families, buy homes. Now, I wouldn't fault the guy if he gave himself $110,000 to $125,000 a year because he's a CEO. He owns the company. But instead of being just super wealthy where everybody's dirt poor. So I wouldn't even fault the man if he made a little bit more than these people. But he said now he has better employees. People stick around more, know the business better, and they're able to pay. I mean, what they do, they get better business and more business. And see, even the employees stuck in when 2020 came along and the economy was crashing, they took a salary cut voluntarily to support the company. And then when things turned around, they got their salary back. But not only that, the company, Gravity, paid them back for the cut that they took. What a wonderful way of doing things. What a Christian way of doing things. See, and that was in Seattle. That's in America. So see, it can work if people treat each other right. And if people just need to stand up and realize when they say, well, we can't afford this, we can't afford that, they can't afford this. CEOs making 320 times what the people make is ridiculous. Let me put it this way. I believe in a minimum wage. I also believe in a maximum wage. For example, that a CEO should not be permitted to make more than 30 times what their employees make. Maybe give them a bonus. And that bonus be limited up to half of what his salary or her salary is. Then we'd have some more fair going on in this country. Just remember, keeping wages down is a way of keeping people down and keeping certain people down. Until the next time, an American Christian or Christian American.